Another tutorial, this time for some kind of energy or, you know, aura or whatever you want to call it. So let's get to it. We have this video. I want to add some cool energy like in Dragon Ball or Super Saiyan, something cool. So yeah, let's open Blender. Now just remember, yeah, I've explained this in my previous tutorial. So let's just add a video. Let's take a look where it starts. Let's just add like it starts at 1 minute and 18, for example. So like 78 seconds. This is just to initialize. Yeah, sorry, 25 frames per second. Yeah, in Blender it's everything in frames. So here we have the video in compositing mode, using nodes to see the result, using compositor node for the output when we render, and viewer to see it on the screen while working on it, using backdrop to actually see what's happening. So, and using this fit thing so that it's visible all. You can actually move the image, but the fit always makes it the way you want it. So, first thing we can do to create an aura is a similar way we did before. We can actually create a mask. By the way, this is the first option of creating this effect. It's simpler to make. It's less performance dependent, or it doesn't require a lot of rendering, but it's not that nice as the second approach I will show you. But you can actually combine them both together, as we will see at the end. So let's add another mask. We've created a new mask here, like hitting this button. Let's hold Control, drag, Alt and C. This creates the mask. We'll adjust the mask to be around the person, me, and yeah, that's all we need right now. Let's just, yeah, actually, okay, let's animate it. We can hit I. Now change the shape, like this, for example, to make it almost invisible. Let's just move the mask away right now. We can even, yeah, as you can see here, maybe the mask should have been a bit wider. So let's just get to the, we can use this to see the keyframes. Let's just, I think we should have moved the keys so the mask will be actually appearing. Yeah, this is this smaller, well, maybe even more. It's just adjusting the animation. I wonder why we have, sorry, no. Okay, let's keep it like this. Now, the mask should appear exactly like following the body. So, let's go back to the compositor. Let's add the input mask. Here is the mask we created. Again, what is the mask? It's just an image. Sorry, I need to put it here. That takes one part of the or it's just black and white image which covers an area of the image, and it works, or it helps us to apply some kind of effect on just a specific part of the image. So let's add a mix node, which is good for overlapping with another images or effects. Let's add a mask as a factor. The factor is like opacity. The mask is like selective opacity. Just this here is the second input is the white color. If we make it red, we'll have it red. But the mask will just, the mask will select which part of the image will be affected by the color. We can use another mode like multiply, and it does something different, like, or additive mode. Yeah. So let's create a new texture, clouds. we will add the texture here. It doesn't matter where you put it, just how you connect it. Let's add it as the image. Choose the texture. Now you can see the texture which is created here is now in our image. As I said, the texture is usually stretched, probably by the aspect ratio. Let's increase the depth, so it's more complex. 6 is usually the best choice if you want something look nice. Use the color ramp to colorize the mask. You can play with this a lot, but let's make it like blue, maybe. We can increase the contrast a bit, maybe. And now let's add a blur to the mask we've created. You can actually, this offsetting that happens automatically, you can turn it off here, but let's keep it now. Sometimes it's a bit disturbing, so let's blur the mask, which means that the borders won't be that sharp as before. Yeah, 400 is cool. And now you can see this already looks sort of like some kind of energy. Okay, that's the end of the tutorial. Goodbye. No, okay. So this is just a first like attempt, or the first approach I want to show you. So we can do another thing. We can actually put the mask here twice, or twice the same thing, but one maybe, for example, Dutch. Yeah, and it looks a bit different again. But you can play with this like in many ways. You can, for example, blur the first mask. This was too much, like for 50, and maybe even use RGB curves to make it more. Sorry, it's starting to be a bit messy, but you can actually like make it more bright. But I'm not sure if this was a good idea actually. So let's just blur it 20. I think the dodge, it's a bit disappearing, the complexity of the noise. But this one maybe looks better. I don't know. So yeah, this is just the first way of creating a aura effect. We can even adjust the ramp thing to create more like a palette of colors. As you can see, it does like quite interesting things actually. I'm not sure what I want to do right now, but okay, you can play with this for a long time. You know, maybe just the brightness might be a bit smaller. And this is the first way of how to create an energy. You can now animate the texture by moving it from like vertically. For example, I don't know, let's just set it like this. I think it's long enough, yeah, to 70. So maybe let's 100. This is all is in frames. So let's put it, for example, minus 0.5, and we can see that the energy will be now moving since it's animated. Yeah, it's moving quite slow, so let's add like -2, but they will be probably too much. I don't know how fast we want it. Yeah, this is like backwards, so it's going down. Maybe it can be maybe even faster, -2.5. And the Z, if you remember from the previous tutorial, it adds the like randomness. It animates the noise not just by moving it, but by changing the shape. So this is the first possibility of how to create an aura. It's simple and pretty quick, but as you can see, you can of course do many things. We can make it smaller so it looks more detailed. We can really do a lot of things with it. We can even use the displays we used before, like to make the air like the hot air effect. So there are many ways of how we can improve this, but this is the first approach I wanted to show you. Maybe we can even increase the contrast. This is a simple way, but it doesn't do like it's not that effective or that nice as it might be if we add, because it looks flat. It looks like it's really just 2D. So let's use Blender, this amazing 3D editor, to create a 3D aura. So this will be a bit more advanced, but just a bit. So let's turn off the nodes. Let's go to the layout. Let's hit 0 on the numpad. So we want to see the image. So let's go to the camera settings. You need to have the camera selected. Background images, add image, and we can choose the viewer. Yeah. So we will create the aura here. Let's add a new object, icosphere. Here we set the icosphere to like 5 subdivisions, or maybe 7. Yeah, this will be enough, I guess. So we need it to be smooth. So, well, let's add 8. This may be too much. If we hit tab, we can enter edit mode. And you can see the complexity. So let's do it like this. Now this will be a bit this will be not uniform, but let's just use this simple trick, just stretching the icosphere by editing the scale. And now let's just go here to the modifiers. Yeah, modifiers, displays. Where is it? I never know. Displays. Let's create a new mask. What does displays do? It is the same as the displacement node that we used in the last tutorial. The displacement moves the geometry of the 3D effect or 3D model in different ways. Now we will move it by new texture. The texture is here. Let's make it clouds, and you can see what's happening. It's like randomly displacing the original geometry. Let's make it, the texture coordinates are now quite important. We will use them. We will add new empty object. It's just a helper object that will just help you. So let's add it here. And this object will animate the noise byte or the displacement. Here in displacement we set the coordinates, which will be edited or controlled by the empty object we just created. So when we move the object, we are moving the displacement. So now I hit I, location, which will keyframe the location or animate the location. Let's just make, for example, 50, I don't know. We just create a long enough animation. Let's move it upwards. Hit the location again. One important thing is that sometimes you can actually create, when you install Blender, be sure to go to Edit, Preferences, and the interpolation type. If you don't have it linear, then, for example, if you have it Bezier or quadratic or I don't know, it means that the animation will be smooth, that it won't be linear, like coming from here, the same speed to here, but it will be coming from here, like slowly getting faster and then slowly getting like steady. So make sure it's linear for effects like this. Sometimes people are, startled or like wondering why is the animation smoothed, but why it's not like when I move it from one point to another point, why it's not moving the same speed. It's starting to be fast and then just slowing down. So this is the reason. You have to change it in the settings, or you can change it in the afterwards in the graph editor. So this is pretty cool. This will be the base object for our settings, for our aura object. So now we will use an almighty tool in Blender, which is called fire, or fire simulation or actually it's fluid simulation, but let's just hit object, quick smoke. Yeah, it's also called smoke because Yeah, that is one of the use cases, because it creates smoke, but also flames. We can just edit this. What is this huge thing? It's a so-called domain of the effect. It borders, or it this is the area where the effect will actually happen or appear. Let's just make it a bit tighter, because the more white it is, the more ugly the effect is, and you have to add more subdivisions, and it's more performance. And so here we go. This now turned into some kind of fire emitter. Let's just we will not use the smoke, we'll use the fire, just the fire. The flow source, this is how far will the fire emit from the surface of the object. Let's just make it really low, because we want it to actually be similar to the object, so it will look like this energy or whatever. Now let's go to the domain. Now we can use this resolution divisions. The more you use, the better the result will be, but the slower the simulation will be calculated actually. So let's just use this, for example. Adaptive domain, quite useful, saves time, creates better effect. Yeah, let's use the noise, which makes the effect even better. It's like some improvement. It's adding more noise to the simulation and creating more how to say it, maybe real looking flames. So we will use the rest just like it is. The end is at 50, it's okay. So first let's bake the first part, this, and then we will bake the noise. This will take a time, so I will skip right now. Magic, we're here and everything is baked. What I did, I hit the bake button here and here, first at the settings and then at the noise section. I went to take a dinner in the meantime, because this takes a lot of time, especially when you hit the very big resolutions. So now, as you can see, it's like flames appeared here. They were emitted from the surface of the model. This model actually stays when we render, so we want to get rid of it. Let's use this, like disable in renders switch, and let's disable it. This looks actually pretty cool. Okay, but then let's just take a look at it like this. This is the 3D fire and our aura. But this is not all. We need to switch to shading and actually create a material for the domain to make it look like a fire. Yeah. So I hope I won't mess this up, because I usually just copy paste it from my previous projects. Let's use the attribute node, because this is a bit tricky. You have to call it or set the name as flame, which will actually give us the intensity of the flames. Now let's add the color ramp node. The factor will come to the factor, and here, this is the volumetric material. We will add a additive shader. I really don't know if I'm doing this right, and the color will come to the shape. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. This is what we wanted. Let's switch to the render mode. Yeah, and this is quite cool. So now we can just adjust the colors to create a cool looking fire. So let's do something like this. Yeah, we want to make it blue, right? So this is not bad. Maybe this is how when you have the big intensity of the fire, big temperature, or how to call it, this is what makes the this is what affects the colors. We don't want actually any smoke, which is shown here. I guess we can get rid of it by setting the density to 0, because this affects the smoke. The black body intensity affects the flames, or the temperature actually, maybe. But the point is that we are actually using the flame. So if we want to create more intense flames, we can just increase the factor, or we can use the color ramp to adjust the flames as we want them. So I think this is pretty cool. Maybe we can create some like really interesting effects by adding more of the control points, or how to call that, to create more energy like feel, or like by reducing the how to call it, the range of the colors, or switching the range. You can see that there are many possible ways of what you can do with the effect, like adding some black parts in the middle of the effect or of the shape, or like moving the white part away so it's almost not visible. Yeah, there are many ways how to play with this, but this is I don't know actually how I want to make it look like. When we add it just to the image, I don't know how will it look like. Okay, so let's just leave it like this. Maybe we can actually even do one more thing. We can add an emission node and add the factor there, which allows us, if we do a math, which allows us to improve the intensity like this, for example. And now some edits that we did in the image are more visible, like, I don't know, as you can see that it's more intense and more. So some of the edits that we did before in the color ramp that were not that visible are now like more visible, and you can see what it does to the image. Yeah, this looks maybe a bit more energetic. I don't know. There's a lot of space again to play with this. You can make it 5. Oh, this doesn't look bad. Maybe let's keep it like this. I don't know. Yeah. Let's keep it like this. This is good looking energy, I think. Maybe we should have added less verticity. Really, the smoke simulation is quite complex. You can do a lot of things with that. Let's just not cover with that. You can experiment. Let's go back. Now we have this smoke. Oh, why won't we actually render it? We can render the whole animation. I will just show you now one frame just to demonstrate. But usually you just render everything. Don't forget to set the color to black, the background color of the whole scene. Then you can actually render the scene somewhere as a PNG sequence and then import it into Compositor. Now we'll just do one frame, I think. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. Let's just save it somewhere, I don't know, here. And we will use this image in the compositing. Let's enable the nodes again, because if you have them disabled, then the layout is rendered, or the 3D scene. If you have them enabled, just this compositor is rendered. But you can connect it with the 3D scene actually. So let's add another additive. Sorry, I didn't want this. Another additive node. But maybe let's just get rid of the effect we created before to demonstrate what we did right now. Let's create another input image, open the image that we rendered, or image sequence, or video, or whatever. Let's edit. Yeah, and as you can see, this looks more 3D, more real. Let's just add it again. And the first one might be a bit blurred to create this glow effect. This is too much actually, like 100. And you can see this looks pretty cool. This is more like a 3D energy effect. This was done really quickly, so you can play a bit. For example, I would personally maybe make it a bit bigger, these like vorticity or like waves in the energy, which can be done, of course, by adjusting the simulation. So we can even combine it with what we did before. Yeah, now I wonder why it's not displaying. This is the thing we did before, right? So we can actually use it as a I would say as a background, and then just add the new effect on top of it. We've now combined both of the effects. We will make the first effect a bit more or less visible by adjusting the brightness, so it's not more visible than the, yeah, and this is quite cool actually. I think maybe the contrast can be lowered a bit so it's not that sharp. Yeah, and this combines both of the effects, creating quite nice looking aura. But maybe the bottom one is not really, it's maybe too intense, so you can play with that later. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. So this is actually all I wanted to show you. This is how we create an energy effect. You can use it for some beams or magic. One more thing I would add, but I will not do right now. It's just I would just show you shortly. You can create a new collection, or just to keep the old one there. Let's just, the collection is like something that it wraps all the objects together. You can switch it off and on and whatever. So you can create particles which are like sparks or I don't know what, to make the scene or the effect more dynamic. The particles, it's quite simple. You create one object that emits the particles and one object that is the particle. So this is the emitter of particles. Go here, new particle system. What happens? It creates particles that are falling down because of the gravity, but we will get rid of the gravity like in anime. So now we have no gravity at all. Okay. Now this second object will be the particle object render. It's the thing that will be emitted from the particle. It's icosphere 2. Maybe make it a bit bigger or smaller or whatever, random. So like this, we've created some particles. Maybe make more of them. 5,000. Or you can bake them, which actually makes the simulation like finished. Or so yeah, the particles, you can make them more random by adjusting the velocity, so each of them has different speed at the beginning. And you can even use a force field, so they will be a bit like turbulent, this turbulence. So they will be moving in more random. Here are the settings of the turbulence. They will move in more random manner, as you can see maybe right now. Yeah, you can even do some pretty cool effects, it's like some slow motion. But anyway, this creates the, yeah, as you can see, the particles are more chaotic right now, not uniform, not just going straight from the center, you know, in some direction, but like wiggling and moving around. And like this, you can render them. We can actually assign a new material to the particle, to the original object of the particle. I recommend using emission because it doesn't do any shading. When I render that right now, nothing happens because first thing, you need to have nodes away, and I think it's because we haven't hit a bake. So let's just do it again. Yeah, here are the particles, but as you can see, those look like a bit static, so let's add some motion blur. I think I will keep it like this, which makes it look more dynamic. And as you can see, there's the motion blur, it looks more dynamic. I think the size of the particles is too big, but in the same way as I added the... You can render the particles, and in the same way as I did with the aura effect, you can add the particles. I would add a globe at first, like using a blurred image. If the particles, I would connect them to the vector to be able to change the change the color, and at the end they will fly like around. So this is all. This is what I wanted to show you. I think this looks pretty cool for the first just side. You know, this is really short or quick tutorial, so make sure to experiment a bit, to play with the effect. You can create some amazing things in Blender. So this is all. Good luck with your special effects videos, and see you next time.